What's up, homies? Welcome back to the Daily Dose. Glad you guys are with me. Thank you so much for being here. We are continuing on in the book of Kings, the book of First Kings. We're looking at chapters 8 through 10, as well as Psalm 96 today. So, without further ado, let's see what we've got. Okay, so the first section in today's scripture talks about the ark being brought to the temple. So the Ark of the Covenant with the mercy seat and everything, remember that was housed in the tabernacle. Now that they've done away with the tabernacle and they've built this temple, which is like a permanent house, so to speak, for the Lord, for the Ark of the Covenant, they're now moving it. So the tongue-tied, the elders of Israel is what I meant to say. They all gathered to Solomon. The priests brought the ark, and were told that when this was happening, they were sacrificing so many animals as the ark was being brought that they couldn't be counted, all of these sacrifices. So, the priests go and they drop off the ark where it needs to be in the holy place, and then they leave. So when the priests withdrew from the holy place and they left the ark, this cloud filled the temple, this Shekinah glory, this like this pillar of cloud and fire that had been guiding the Israelites through the wilderness, right? That seems to be what they're talking about here. This giant cloud fills the temple. And then Solomon gives a prayer of dedication for the temple. Solomon stands before the whole assembly, and he says a long, elaborate, beautiful prayer that is essentially the official dedication for the temple. Then we read about the actual dedication of the temple, not just the prayer of dedication. So at the dedication ceremony, we read that they sacrificed a lot of blood. 22,000 cattle. 22,000 cattle. Can you even imagine what that would look like? Like how big, like if you take your average football stadium down on the football field, how many cattle do you think you could fit on a football field? It's kind of a rhetorical question because I don't know for sure. But my point is that imagine if you had a football field and it was full of cattle, just crowded end to end, running around on the football field full of cattle. I would imagine that probably would be less than 22,000. Probably quite a bit less than 22,000. But imagine a football field full of cattle, and every single one of those being sacrificed and the blood being drained. How much blood would that be? Where would all that blood go? That would be crazy. But then there's more, right? Just like the infomercials. But wait, there's more. Not just 22,000 cattle, but 120,000 sheep and goats were also sacrificed. Then on the final day of the festival, we read that the people blessed Solomon and basically went home. They had joy in their hearts when they left because of God's faithfulness. The next thing we read about is the Lord appearing to Solomon again, right? The first time was kind of in that dream where he said, Solomon, I'll grant you a wish. What would you like me to grant you? Well, now we read that the Lord appears to Solomon again. So God says that he has consecrated the temple, and then we've got another kind of conditional promise. God says, if you obey me, I will bless you. If you disobey me, I will curse you, essentially, is what this boils down to, right? So after that section about the Lord speaking to Solomon again, we read about some other miscellaneous activities of Solomon. Like, for example, after the temple and palace were completed, Solomon gave 20 towns in the Galilee area to this guy Hiram of Tyre that was helping out with the labor force and with the cedar trees from Lebanon. I guess Solomon decided, well, hey, now that I'm all done with all my building, I'm going to give this guy Hiram an extra special gift. I'm going to give him 20 cities or towns in the Galilee area. Now, this is kind of weird. We read that Hiram goes out there. He's like, oh, cool, I just was given these 20 little towns. Let me go check them out. Well, Hiram goes to see them, and we're told that he was not pleased. He's kind of looking a gift horse in the mouth. It makes me wonder, what kind of land did Solomon give him? Was it like just the bootleg podunk land that nobody wanted? Or did Solomon really give him something generous, but this guy just didn't see it that way for some reason? I don't know. Interesting to think about. And then we go on to read an account of the forced labor that had been involved at this time. Now we come to another section that deals with Solomon's wisdom, and it's about a famous queen that you've probably heard of, the Queen of Sheba. The Queen of Sheba visits Solomon, and I actually think that's a really cool name. There is a lady at church, the local church where I go to. She's on staff there. Her name is Sheba, and I just think that's the prettiest name. But anyways, the Queen of Sheba visits Solomon, and this is how it goes. So the queen had heard about Solomon's fame and about his wisdom, and I wonder how long it took her to hear about all this, because now all you got to do is go pull up the internet and you can hear about people's wisdom and about their fame and about their stupidity and everything else on the internet, right? But back then, it took a long time for information to make its way from one place to another. So over who knows how much time, 6 months, a year, 10 years, whatever, over time, this Queen of Sheba had heard about Solomon's fame and wisdom. So she's like, I want to go visit him. I want to go see if this dude is all he's cracked up to be. Is he really as wise as people say? So she goes to visit him, and we're told that basically she was blown away. She was totally floored by this guy's wisdom, by his riches, by his palace, by the temple. Like, she is in awe. So we read that she ends up giving Solomon a ton of gold and spices and all kinds of precious stones. Like, she is just so impressed and pleased with his talent and his ability and his wisdom that she just wants to give into that. So we also read about Solomon's splendor in the next section, after we move on from the story about the Queen of Sheba. Now, in this section about Solomon's splendor, we read how many talents of gold Solomon basically got per year. And this is interesting because this number only appears one other place in the Bible, and that's in Revelation. The mark of the beast, the number 666, right? You guys familiar with that at all from the book of Revelation? Well, that number is given here. That's the number of talents of gold that Solomon received per year, 666. Okay, so how much is a talent of gold? Well, in my Bible, it breaks down and does the math for us. It says that 666 talents of gold came out to be about 25 tons of gold. Bro, do you have any idea how much 25 tons of gold is? I believe there's 2,000 pounds in a ton. So 2,000 pounds times 25 tons, 50,000 pounds. 50,000 pounds. Okay, your average small vehicle, mid-sized sedan, is probably, I don't know what, 4,000 pounds, something like that. So imagine. It's mind-boggling how much gold this was. So we also go on to read about how Solomon was greater in wisdom and riches than any other king on earth. And again, similar to what we read before, but that's saying something. We also read that Solomon amassed a lot of chariots and horses, and that's something that God had said not to do, to not amass yourselves a bunch of chariots and a bunch of horses. Solomon did that. He created stables where these horses were all housed, and the stables were just this magnificent work of architecture and art in and of themselves. But anyways, we'll stop there for today. That's where we close off. So I will leave you guys with that. I pray that you guys will have a blessed day and that you will reach out and tell somebody about Jesus today. So until we meet again, have a good day and deuces.